JP Morgan paid $920 million for rigging precious metals and treasuries. So when silver crashed last Friday, it got the blame. But that day, it moved 0 ounces. Here's what we're checking today. Why JP Morgan is the prime suspect every time silver drops, what the bank actually did on the day of the crash, and the one price level that tells us whether the bottom is in. The claim spread within hours of last Friday's 8% crash. JP Morgan, the same bank that manipulated metals markets before, did it again. A wave of paper selling to force the price down while quietly draining the vaults. And on paper, it's a believable story. JP Morgan really did manipulate precious metals markets for years. It admitted it, and paid the largest spoofing penalty on record back in 2020. Today, it holds more silver at the New York Exchange than anyone else, about 44% of the total. And in London, it's the custodian for the biggest silver ETF on the market. The means, history, and a giant footprint. The accusation almost writes itself. Here's what the picture really looks like. First, the crash day itself. We now have the official vault report for last Friday. JP Morgan moved 0 ounces, nothing in, nothing out. The bank accused of dumping silver to crash, the price didn't touch its holdings on the day it supposedly did it. Second, the real trigger was boring. A blowout jobs report Friday killed hopes for a rate cut, lifted the dollar, and pushed bond yields up. Gold fell the same day. Silver, the more volatile metal, fell harder. No smash required. Third, even what they actually did wasn't this. What JP Morgan got caught doing was spoofing, flooding the market with big orders it never intended to fill, then yanking them to nudge the price. It never moved a single real ounce. The vault draining story isn't even how their manipulation worked. A history of rigging is a reason to investigate, not a verdict. We're not naming the accounts pushing this. The point isn't who's shouting, it's whether the math holds up. JP Morgan's past is real and worth remembering. But a penalty from years ago is evidence about the past, not about last Friday. And for last Friday, the numbers don't back the story. Just a quick aside. If you want these structure checks regularly, subscribe and turn on notifications. So, if the biggest holder didn't move metal, why does its footprint scare people so much? Here's what the data actually says. JP Morgan's silver in the New York vaults comes to about 140 million ounces, but only about 10.5 million of that is registered, the silver actually available for delivery right now. The other 130 million is eligible inventory, stored in the vault, but not earmarked for delivery. In other words, the headline number overstates it. Most of that silver is just sitting in storage, not 140 million ounces the bank can dump on the market to push the price down. And look at what physical buyers were doing during the crash. While New York paper collapsed towards $68, silver in Shanghai was still changing hands near $80 an ounce, about 17% higher. Real buyers paid up for real metal at the exact moment paper traders dumped it. The deliverable pile in the New York vaults didn't even shrink on the crash day. It grew by more than 100,000 ounces. That is not what a supply raid looks like. That's what steady physical demand looks like. So what actually matters now? Forget the manipulation story and watch one number. Silver fell through $70 in the crash and is now sitting just above support at 66. That's the line. Hold above it, and Friday looks like a washout in a market that's still structurally tight. Break below, and the next support sits around 61. And the backdrop hasn't changed. The Silver Institute projects this year's supply deficit at 46.3 million ounces, which would be the 6th straight year demand outpaces supply. That's the picture a one-day sell-off doesn't touch. Watch the price, not the headline. Structure checks like today's are exactly what the Silver Catalyst does every issue. $1 gets you 2 weeks of the newsletter, plus the book, at silver2026.com. If you've heard a silver claim you'd like us to verify, drop it in the comments. Until the next time, I'm the Silver Engineer.